My name is Erica Belofsky. I'm the Community Outreach Specialist with HC Reach and co-host Lauren Holder. And we are here with Dave and Susie for this episode of Love in a Hopeless Place called Layers of Love, where we're going to kind of dive into their love, how it started, how it's going today, how they keep it together, and the complexities of finding love within the HD community. So I am so excited that you guys are here, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
I want to start off, like, for people who do not know you, I know you're very well known, but for those who do not know you, how did your story begin? What does it look like? And how did you get to where you're at now?
We could start it now.
Oh, I get to start. Boy, where to start? I think it started, we just say it started in Orlando at 2000 convention. Group called Hunt This had decided, an online group, had decided that those attending the convention, we'd have a pool party the night before the convention started so that everybody could put faces with names.
Faces with emails.
Or faces with emails. Yeah, faces and names, whatever. And this one here, he kind of led the charge and told everybody, just look for the old geezer in a Speedo. So, you go and everybody started gathering. Of course, nobody really knew, okay, are they with the group? Are they with the group? And you can see people looking around for somebody in a Speedo. It was him, but he didn't have a Speedo the way people were expecting a Speedo.
I was about to say, I'm just envisioning like an actual Speedo.
No, don't go there.
No.
Yeah, I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to.
It was a regular, nice swim trunks that made by Speedo. But just throughout the evening, different ones talking to each other and everything. We ended up sitting next to each other, getting talking with the group. And
I think you invited me to dinner with the Oklahoma group.
yes.
Was that Friday night, maybe? Thursday night?
Yeah, I believe. No, that was when we was in Oklahoma. No?
Anyway,
Anyway,
it's been a long time.
he started stalking me, actually.
Oh, no, Dave.
So it just happened that then during the convention, at different times, we'd run into each other, our groups, how that goes. He was with one group, I was another group, and we'd end up at the same places. And so we got to know each other better. After the convention, the day we were going home, he happened to be waiting for transportation to the airport when I and my girlfriend came up and to wait for transportation too. So we're sitting there chit-chatting and everything. And as ours came first, and as we walked away, I told my friend Colleen, I said, he's kind of interesting. And that was it. And you take over for a while. What was your pot stalker?
I think it's important to go back and let people know that we are a blended family.
Yeah.
Susie's husband died with HD. My wife died with HD. Susie had one son who died with HD, and she has two others that are free and don't have HD. We, on my side, we had 4 kids, a son and 3 daughters. 3 of the 4 have or had HD. Unfortunately, my oldest, my son, committed suicide. My youngest, Emily, tested positive maybe 2 years, 3 years ago.
Oh, longer than that.
And she's just been the world to us. She's gotten so knowledgeable about HD. And then my oldest daughter, Kate, just recently tested positive for HD. At any rate, we continued to correspond through email, this and that, and felt a relationship building. And at some point, I asked Susie to help me care for my wife.
That was in, after my husband passed, I started travel nursing. I needed something different. And I was a nurse, so I started doing travel nursing and was going all over. And I had an assignment in Illinois, woo, because I was from Oklahoma. And that put us closer together. And we got to see each other more often. And then at the 2002 convention, or 2001, no, 2002, 2002, at the convention we were talking, and Dave had lost another caregiver, and the company that had been providing them said they weren't going to send another one. And he didn't know what he was going to do. My contract at the hospital in Illinois was ending, and they weren't going to use travel nurses anymore, only staff. And so they had offered me a staff position that I could take, but I didn't have a place to live because travel nursing, they provide my apartment and everything. But now I would have to get an apartment and pay for it on my own. And to stay there, I would be taking a big pay cut. And so I just didn't see how I could afford an apartment and bills and everything on what I would be making. So we was like, well, what are we going to do? And then it's your turn to take over.
As it were, for those that know the Chicagoland area, at the time I lived in Naperville, which was only about 20 miles from where Susie was working. And I asked her to come and stay with my wife, my 4 kids, and help me care for Paula, my late wife. She was becoming very, very difficult to work with. And I had made the thing that you're never supposed to do. I made a promise to my wife that she would never go into a nursing home. And we kept that promise all the way up to the time that she passed away. The nice thing was I worked during the day, Susie worked at night. So it was a nice even split. The kids were not too overly enthusiastic about it, but they understood. Susie told them that she was not replacing their mother. She was becoming their friend, and she has become their best friend. After Paula died, I think a year went by, and Carmen Leal, an HD author, came into Chicago. She stayed at our house, and we took her downtown to get her something to eat at a restaurant. And the restaurants we went to weren't what we were looking for. And she turned around, she said, when are you two going to get hitched? I looked at Susie, she looked at me, and she said, that's a good idea. So in 2000, my wife had died in 2004. In 2005, we got a hold of Oriental Trading.
Well, first we got a hold of HDSA.
We got a hold of HDSA and said we want to hold a wedding at the Atlanta convention. They said, oh yeah, go for it. So we got a hold of a minister at
Ministers are.
Yeah, Northern Georgia Ministers Are Us. Got a hold of a guy who was willing to do the service. We went down to Atlanta. We had all this stuff from Oriental Trading. It was all blow-up stuff, which made it even more fun, based on a tropical theme.
Yeah. Tacky tropical.
Very tacky tropical. The invitations, there were no invitations. If you were in the hotel, whether you were related to the Huntingtons convention or not, you were invited.
And they put it up on the big,
They put it up on the marquee,
yeah.
Actionelect wedding, which was kind of neat. And that Thursday night before the convention, we got married. Carmen sang the entrance song, which was what, Let There Be Love, I think,
The wedding song.
wedding song. And then my best friend had come down to Atlanta. He was my best man.
And Bill Marsh, who was convention coordinator at the time, walked me down the aisle.
And then Gene Miller, who was the original HD Google live and in person, was Susie's maid of honor. And one of my daughters paid for the bar. So we had about, oh, what else? We got the room, the ballroom for free. I guess the hotel actually gave us the room for free. HDSA paid for the wedding cake. And a merry time was had after that. We had a cash bar unless we brought in over $500, and my daughter pulled out her credit card, ran it for $500, and it was an open bar the rest of the night. But
Nice.
Smart.
it was kind of cool. We like to say that we were the first ones to get married at a convention. I think it's been done once or twice before, but it was a lot of fun. As I say, if you were in the hotel, you were invited. So it was a good time.
Yeah.
And that was that.
And it was the wedding that almost didn't happen.
Oh, yeah. We got down there with all the stuff. We had to rent 2 rooms, one for us and then one for
Bob.
Bobby. So I slapped my credit card up for mine and Susie's, and then I slapped it up for Bobby's. They ran it. We got up to Bobby's room and we got a call. Sir, your card did not go through for that room. And, oh my God, what are we going to do now? So went back downstairs. My best man happened to arrive at the time, and I was looking at hauling back almost a trailer load of decorations. My best man,
We were ready to turn.
yeah, we were ready to turn around and come home, but my best man happened to walk in to the hotel. I said, Brian, can you pay for this room and we'll pay you back? He said, yeah, not a problem. So he paid for Bobby's room. So we got lucky. And
it had already been stressful because we lost Bob.
oh yeah, that, getting to Atlanta was another problem. We had to get Bob from
Oklahoma.
to Orlando. We
No, to Atlanta.
to Atlanta, and we told him to sit behind the bus driver, could ask him any questions, and to get off at the airport. We'd meet him at the airport at Hartsfield. Well, the bus came, passengers got off, no Bobby. And here we are looking for Bob in the metropolitan Atlanta area. And we were lucky enough to get the bus terminal's phone number in Atlanta. Susie called them. They gave us directions. We drove around the block a couple of times. I saw 2 Greyhound buses parked, and I said, that's got to be the place. Susie moved over, sat in the car. I ran in to get Bobby, and Bobby was sitting on the bench. Bob got in the car. Bob had been found. And we went back to the hotel. But talk about stress, just incredible. And we made it through. So
I was about to say, very stressful lead up, but then the actual wedding sounds amazing.
It was.
Sounds
And you
beautiful.
guys have been married for how long now?
17 years.
17 years.
Coming up on 18.
Yeah. Since
And on top of, you took care of Dave's wife, but from that point, I mean, you were caring for your son, right, Susie?
right, we took care of Bob, and everybody knows the Bob. And
Everybody knows Bob, yeah. He's
we
great.
took care of him at home until he passed in January of 2020.
20. And then
So-
we had decided that we're probably going to have more of our family with HD. We need a bigger house. So we moved into where we are now. It's a 4-bedroom. It's a nice home. And there's room for everyone. My son did not move in. At the time, he was estranged from me.
From all of us.
Yeah, from all of us. Didn't want to talk to me. Didn't want me to
Disowned us.
touch the dog. He didn't want anybody to get involved with him.
In any way.
The last time we saw him, he was with his then girlfriend at the funeral of my best friend, the guy who had come down to Atlanta.
And he didn't even speak to us.
Yeah, he didn't even speak to us then. And then July 1st of 2019, I get a call from the Naperville police that they had found him and he had committed suicide, put a gun to his head. He had a lot of stress in his life, money being the biggest stress, but he never really reached out for help. And to this day, I wish he would have. I would have given him, you know, the cliche, give him the shirt off your back. I would have given him anything he needed, which is how we deal with our two girls that have HD. If they need something, they're going to get it.
And that's the way we did with Bob.
Yeah, we did the same thing with Bob. And I guess it's our purpose on this rock called Earth is to take care of those that have HD, whether it's family or outside of the family or the greater family of the HD community. We're there to help people. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, our story is, you know, a lot of people, and we say this often, go through their whole lives and even their married lives together, and they just roll along. But we go with a purpose. We know that God brought us together, and he brought us together for a purpose. And that was to lift each other up and to help each other get through children having this disease, and to share what we have learned over a multitude of years of caring for people with HD, to share that knowledge with other people to help them. And
Bob's mantra was live like Bob, live like me. Bob, whenever he talked to people, he would tell them, I'm not dying from HD, I'm living with HD. And that was Bobby's mantra. We had a lot of laughs. We had a lot of tears, a lot of ups and a lot of downs. Sometimes other caregivers would come up to us and say, oh, you're so lucky. There's two of you. You've been down the HD path. You know what's ahead of you. Well, you really don't.
because it's different with each.
Every HD patient is different, which we have found out through having 4 people with HD in our family.
And
Everyone has been different. So it's something always new. So if you're looking for the same thing, if you have multiple people you're taking care of, you're going to find the same thing. Everyone is different. Nobody's the same.
But what I love about your story, what always warms my heart, is the fact that, you know, you were both caregivers, and you found each other and you've been able to support each other. And, you know, most people, like you said, they kind of just roll through life, and you guys were able to provide support and then build this love. And what an amazing relationship to have, and to find each other that way, to be able to support each other and love each other like that. That's amazing.
Susie stalked me. Don't let her get away with it.
Oh, I know it.
So, it's a mutual stalking.
Yeah, it was.
Like I say, there've been a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of fun times. We always took Bobby anywhere we went. He came with us. My daughter Emily is, because of her Korea, she doesn't care to go out anywhere for fear of being embarrassed. We understand that. The thing with Emily is that we can still understand her. Her speech is crystal clear. Kate,
isn't that interesting?
Yeah, Kate is a little bit different in that she has some movement, but she speaks very softly and it's hard to hear her. Both had CAG counts in the 40s, as did my son. We don't know what my wife had. That's something also interesting. My wife was diagnosed in 1986 before the test. We took her down to the University of Chicago to be examined by a very well-known HD neurologist who put her through a few tests. He looked at her family history, and then she went to another room with a nurse, and I was in the room with the doctor. And he said, well, what do you think? Should I tell her? And I said, should you tell her? Of course, that's why we're here. We want to know. And he said, well, she has HD. So she was diagnosed and not tested. As it were, our kids have proven his diagnosis correct. So.
And it was the same with my late husband. Test wasn't available at the time, and he was diagnosed by symptoms. So we never knew his CAG count either. Bob's was 50. So.
And how far we've come in terms of research, but how far do we still have to go? That cure is out there. We know it's out there. We have to find it. Will it be in our lifetime? Don't know. God has a plan.
And we trust in that plan. We don't have to know what it is. We just have to trust that he's in control. He has a plan. And
when the time is right,
we'll know.
We'll know. So.
And that may not be till we see Jesus.
Yeah, we may croak before that comes. But,
now, do you feel like
we're sticking to
your faith is a very big center stone for you guys, to keep you grounded, to keep you living within how difficult I'm sure this purpose is, but it's still keeping you at your purpose of focusing on your loved ones with HD.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And humor, I think, and being able to laugh at ourselves with each other instead of at each other, but finding the humor, like the time at the convention when we became known just as Dave and Susie.
I'll tell you one more. I have a lot of stories, and I'm sorry if we're going over the limit. At one of the conventions, before the convention, Susie had
been
exposed to a room deodorant at the hospital, typical deodorant that they use in hospitals. And it was a heavy spray when they came through. She ended up getting a
laryngeal spasms.
A laryngeal spasm of her throat. Yikes. She coughed
a lot,
and it was unbelievable when it happened. Well, she had an episode that was at Raleigh, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She had an episode. I had already gone into the big room because that was the keynote speaker was going to speak, and I wanted to save a seat for her. And I'm sitting there, and in walks, I can't remember his name. Anyway, in walks one of the HD people up to the microphone, and he said, would the husband of Susie, what did you say?
No, would Dave of Dave and Susie.
Would Dave of Dave and Susie please come outside? The guy in front of me said, boy, it must be pretty cool to be known as one name. Susie. So
it's remained that way. Everybody knows you as Dave and Susie.
Yeah, we often introduce ourselves in HD circles as Dave and Susie, no last name.
I literally had to ask, like Melissa, I was like, wait, what is Dave and Susie's last name? I've only heard them Dave and Susie.
If you're a Jeopardy fan, they often have the category hodgepodge. And if you take Hodge and add a son to it, you'll never mispronounce our name. So that's our strategy.
Nice and easy. Nice and easy. What kind of advice would you give for other caregivers who are, whether they're planning on becoming caregivers, whether they find themselves maybe in a similar position of caring for loved ones and finding outside support or finding someone else that they can really confide in and help? I would say that there's no blueprint for this thing.
There's not. And what I would say, and Dave may, have more to add to it,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, what I tell people is you have to be willing to look and live outside the box that everybody is in. You're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. But when you're living with HD and dealing with HD, nobody that hasn't been there can understand, especially when it's a spouse, because that person that you love dearly, they're still there, but you no longer have the intimacy, the support, the confidence, someone to talk to. All of that's gone. The person is still there and you still love them, but you don't have those things that is marriage and a part of, being a couple. It doesn't mean that the love has changed for that spouse. It's just situational. And so for HD, I tell people, outside the box, if it feels right for you, then it's right. There's no right or wrong. It's what is right for you and your situation. For me, my family is Southern Baptist. My daddy was a preacher. My brother's a preacher. And so when Dave and I first got together, I was pretty much not disowned or anything, but relationship between my mother and my sister and brother was strained, very strained. How could you live with a man who's married in his house where his wife is dying? They could not get past the fact that Dave was married and we were living together. Where his wife was living.
Taking care of her, right? But you were
trying to survive.
Yeah.
So
But
what I
now-
love, this is something, and this is going to be in a different show. But Dave and Susie, I want you to know, like, when I tested positive, I was married, and seeing how your relationship was, knowing the history of it and everything, was very instrumental to me in thinking about when I get sick. And so I've been married for 18 years, and my husband and I have had multiple talks over the years. I gave him an out. I told him, like, if you want to leave, that's fine. I get it. But he doesn't want to leave. But we also discussed and came to an agreement that I understand if I get to the point where I can't give those things, then it's okay for him to find that support in somebody else. It's okay to have that. And I mean, literally multiple discussions, this is several year thing, but I think it's important for people, like you said, to think outside the box and realize that we're in such a situation in this community that sometimes people do need that support, and it's okay to find it.
Right. And it can be right for one person,
right,
not right for another.
Exactly.
That doesn't make it wrong.
Right.
You have to do what in this situation, in living with HD, trying to make lemonade out of lemons.
Yep.
You have to do what feels right for you. And I have to say, in my case, yes, it was very difficult being, the relationship between my mother and my brother and sister was strained because we were very, very close. Had always been a close family. And it was difficult. But I can tell you now, the relationship with them is even stronger. And they love Dave. And it's like I was talking to my brother this morning. And he said, God brought the two of you together for a reason. And so, they understand that now.
Yeah.
And
how can you not love a Dave.
That's right. Can't have too many days.
You can never have too many Daves. It's it's like Susie says, I think a big part of our relationship is the fact that Susie kind of brought me back to the church. And I don't want to get religious with everybody, but I think it's important that you have something spiritual that's greater than you. It's greater than anything you know. Some people call that person God. Some call him Allah. Some people call him big guy in the sky. But I think it's important that you develop a relationship with that entity as well as yourself in order to get a better look on your purpose. And if you don't have purpose on earth, you've lost it. Our purpose is to take care of people, is to help people, to educate people, to advocate for people. That's our purpose, and we love it. We wouldn't want to do anything else. So,
And the fact that God has brought us together, and we know that purpose, and we're just blessed that God chose us.
Erica's original question was, I think, how do people go about finding someone to put trust in and to be able to talk to them, to tell them their problems? Susie fell into my arms. I was lucky. That's not so lucky for a lot of people. There are people out there that are willing to do that, and God bless them all. But it's difficult. And like I say, because we've gone down the path, doesn't make it any easier.
No.
In fact, it's harder. It's harder with a single person, obviously. We've heard stories of people getting divorced, but still caring for their loved one. In the support group that we used to run down in Bloomington, one of our attendees had to divorce his wife in order for the state to pay them any type of Medicaid, which they did. They had a legal divorce, and he didn't stop loving her.
Or living in the house.
Or living in the house. And it worked out for him. So
We had to do the same thing for my mom and dad.
yeah.
And that is sad that in this country, to get the care a loved one needs, we have to do things like that.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen.
No.
Families should not be torn apart because you want your loved one to have the best care possible.
Right.
Because you want to take care of them at home instead of putting them in a nursing home. It's cheaper to care for them at home. So come on, would you rather pay for the cost of a nursing home or a family?
Right. But as you know, it's really hard taking care of somebody at home when it's just one person, or, you don't have a support system of people helping you. So having two people like you guys are doing and being able to say, okay, especially because you know so well how it works, just saying, okay, we need to take shifts, we need to do whatever. And just having two people is amazing, because doing it by yourself sucks.
Yeah. And even with two, and there comes points in caring for any person with HD that you have to say, I need a timeout. I have to get out of this room. And even with Bob, there were times that either Dave or I would say, that's it. You do this. I can't deal with it anymore.
You see a little of that in the video that HDSA made for us. I hope you get a chance to show that, at least parts of it. When Susie's had enough, she came to me and she said, I've had enough. I feel terrible. He's my son. How can I say I've had enough, but I've had enough? Mm-hmm. I understand that. Mm-hmm. Time to take a break.
Yeah.
I'd go in and, stay with Bob at that point. We understand that. We get that. But again, like Lauren said, it's very tough with a single person. We were blessed that there were two of us.
And one of the things that Dave told me when in the early times of our relationship is we first reached the point where we made a commitment to each other. And this was several years before we were married. And then when we knew Bob had HD even before he tested. And Dave told me a number of times, you don't have to do it alone this time. And that's the thing. I didn't have to do it alone. When it was my husband, it was virtually me. The boys did as much as they could, but
It fell on you.
yeah. And same for Dave with Paula, that until I moved in and helped. Emily, especially our youngest, did a lot in helping to care for her. And the other girls and John did, as much as they could, but they had school activities and stuff. So, it mostly fell on Dave when he wasn't working. So, yeah, and the only way for me, the only way to get through it is to have that faith and not be afraid to ask for help. That was always my biggest thing, accepting help. And it was like, I shouldn't have to have help. I'm a nurse. I should be able to do this. I do it all day long at my work. Why can't I do it here? But it's a totally different situation when it's someone you love. And so God brought Dave into my life to help me with that and to show me that and to share that with me. And we do a lot of laughing at each other.
Laughing is good.
Team effort.
We do it together.
As long as Dave doesn't show up in a Speedo, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see me in a Speedo.
Hey, next convention, you have to show up in a Speedo now.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for being here. I know I've learned a lot. I hope everybody watching this video can go, okay, take a deep breath and give some grace. And for people who have not been in this situation, know that this is such a complex disease and it's so difficult, but there's so much love and there's so much genuine love, and you can still love your loved ones to the fullest extent. But it's so important to have your outside support.
You have a life.
You could still have a life. Give yourself some grace.
Well, and as Bob said, you live with HD. I mean, this is all part of living with HD, and yeah, I think it's great.
It's your attitude and what you decide to do with it.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
I think one last thing that I would like to add, because it was a very difficult thing for me to accept, and it's that it's okay when you lose patience, when you just don't know what to do. It's okay to scream. It's okay to cry. It does not make you a bad caregiver. It does not make you a bad person. You are human, and we all go through that. It's what you do with it that's the key. You can either let it beat you down, or you can scream and cry and rant and rave and then say, okay, wipe your eyes, and get back in there. And even be able to laugh at the situation eventually. And we do a lot of that.
We do.
And I think that's the key. You have to know that it's okay to be human and to love yourself, to love each other.
That's our story and we're sticking to it.
I love it.
I'm like mic
Love it.
drop, like that's it.
Yeah.
I thank
Love
you
it.
guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.